Four Big Bang Theory storylines that never got resolved. For a sitcom that ran for 12 seasons, The Big Bang Theory did a surprisingly good job of tying up loose ends and giving most of its characters satisfying conclusions. Leonard and Penny found happiness together, Sheldon won the Nobel Prize, Raj found confidence, if not quite love, and Howard and Bernadette had a thriving family. But like any long-running series, not every storyline got the closure it deserved. Whether due to changing character arcs, behind-the-scenes shifts, or simple oversight, several intriguing threads were left dangling. These unresolved plotlines leave fans wondering what could have been, and still spark passionate debates years after the series finale. Here are four of the most glaring Big Bang Theory storylines that were never fully resolved. 1. The elevator conundrum. Who really broke it? For years, the broken elevator in Leonard, Sheldon, and Penny's apartment building served as a silent, comedic character. Fans were used to seeing the gang trudge up and down the stairs, giving us countless memorable conversations and comedic physical bits. For most of the show, the broken elevator was treated as a mystery. Then, in Season 3's The Staircase implementation, we got an origin story. Leonard caused the elevator's destruction by mismanaging a rocket fuel experiment. Sheldon saved his life by pulling him from the elevator just before it exploded. Mystery solved. Right? Not quite. Despite that explanation, later episodes introduced inconsistencies. In Season 5's The Beta Test Initiation, Leonard mentions the building manager refusing to fix the elevator, implying a lack of funds or interest, not a catastrophic explosion, was to blame. Additionally, considering how dangerous Leonard's accident was, wouldn't there have been more consequences, like an evacuation or a fine? And how did they go nearly 15 years without the elevator getting repaired, especially with multiple engineers and physicists living there? The mystery deepened further in the final season when the elevators suddenly worked again without explanation. Did the building finally fix it? Was it repaired off-screen? Sheldon, the one person who would demand a logical explanation, never commented. And that silence only added to the eerie ambiguity surrounding one of the series' most iconic background details. 2. Raj's love life. Why did the show leave him hanging? Raj Koothrappali's romantic journey was one of the Big Bang Theory's most tragicomic arcs. For most of the show, he couldn't even speak to women without alcohol, an amusing running gag that gave way to genuine emotional depth in later seasons. Raj's desperate, awkward quest for love mirrored the audience's own dating frustrations, making him surprisingly relatable. He had near relationships, disastrous dates, and a few almost perfect partners. But by the finale, Raj was still single. To be fair, the show didn't owe him a happily ever after. Sometimes stories reflect reality. Love doesn't come in perfect packages, even for good people. But what irked fans was how his story was handled in the end. After years of character development, Raj regressed in Season 12. He got into a relationship with Anu, a woman selected by his parents in an arranged engagement. Their relationship never felt organic. Despite some compatibility, there was no spark, and Raj calling it off before moving to London with her felt like a rushed cop-out. Then, nothing. The final scenes show Raj attending Sheldon's Nobel ceremony alone. There's no nod to his future, no post-credits closure, no hint of hope. His entire storyline ends with a shoulder pat from Howard. Raj deserved better. Whether it was a final romantic connection, a confident solo journey, or even a hint that he was okay being single, fans were left wanting more. Instead, his arc stopped short, unresolved, like a sitcom punchline with no payoff. 3. The Cheesecake Factory Black Hole. The Cheesecake Factory was practically a second home for the early cast of The Big Bang Theory. Penny worked there as a waitress for several seasons, and the gang was frequently seen eating or hanging out in its booths. It was one of the first recurring non-apartment/non-university locations on the show, and helped flesh out the lives of characters outside their work and homes. But somewhere around Season 7, the Cheesecake Factory simply vanished. Penny abruptly quit her job to focus on acting, which was a major career decision. Then, not long after, she pivoted again and accepted a sales job with Bernadette's pharmaceutical company. While Penny's career arc got some closure, especially with her financial success, there was no final goodbye to the restaurant that had been central to her early identity. Even more mysteriously, no other characters ever mentioned it again. Did the Cheesecake Factory shut down? Did the group find a new favorite restaurant? What happened to Penny's co-workers, like Bernadette's one-time friend and waitress colleague, or even the manager we occasionally glimpsed? A beloved staple of the early years, the restaurant just disappeared from existence without a final visit or a farewell scene. For a show that often reflected its own history, that silence felt oddly out of place. 4. The fate of the comic book store and Stuart's life. Stuart Bloom began as a side character, the sad sack comic book store owner who was occasionally a romantic rival to Leonard or Raj. But over time, Stuart became a regular, one of the show's most endearing oddballs. His store served as the nerdy heart of the gang's social life. When it was destroyed by fire in Season 7, fans were devastated. Fortunately, the store was rebuilt thanks to Howard and Bernadette's financial help. But while it reopened, its importance in the show seemed diminished. Fewer scenes took place there, and Stuart himself got fewer storylines, despite some intriguing hints. He began dating Denise, an employee and fellow nerd with an edge. For the first time, Stuart seemed confident, even happy. Then, the show ended. Stuart and Denise never got a formal send-off. Did they stay together? Did the store finally start turning a profit? Did Stuart continue living with Howard and Bernadette while dating someone new? His entire journey, rising from sad loner to functioning adult, deserved more closure. Stuart embodied the struggling outsider, the late bloomer who found community in unlikely places. Yet the show dropped the ball on completing his redemption arc, leaving his personal and professional fate hanging in the air. Why these unfinished arcs still matter? Not every storyline in a sitcom needs a neat bow. Life rarely wraps up cleanly. But The Big Bang Theory prided itself on growth, consistency, and the evolution of its characters. That's what made it more than just a science-heavy joke machine. The show had emotional resonance, and that's exactly why these dropped threads feel so glaring. Raj's emotional journey was as important as Sheldon's intellectual one. Stuart represented how even the most socially awkward people could find happiness. The Cheesecake Factory was a physical manifestation of Penny's struggles and aspirations. And the elevator? It was more than a machine, it was a metaphor for the group's slow but steady climb toward connection, maturity, and purpose. By the finale, Sheldon and Amy's Nobel win became the show's symbolic ending, and Leonard and Penny's pregnancy provided a hopeful glimpse of the future. But the fact that Raj, Stuart, the elevator, and the comic book store were left in narrative limbo reflects the risks of focusing too narrowly on only a few characters' arcs. Final thoughts, fan fiction, and headcanons to the rescue?